Before we begin, please hit that like button, share, and subscribe for more. Thanks for being part of the story.
This incident happened around 5 years ago. My husband and I had planned to take our daughter on a beach vacation. The plan was to leave at the end of the month, and we had booked a beachfront hotel. But a few days before the trip, my husband suggested we go immediately instead. I was surprised since we had already made the booking, but he explained an urgent work schedule and assured me we could adjust the reservation. So we left for our vacation earlier than originally planned. While on the road, I called the hotel to notify them of the date change, but they told me they were fully booked for the day because a large tour group had just checked in. With no other option, I had to cancel the reservation. Then, I began searching for another hotel online. After browsing for a while, we found another hotel that seemed to meet our needs and had rooms available. After confirming by phone, we decided to go there. When we arrived at the hotel, the staff told me we couldn't park at the entrance, but didn't specify where to go, leaving me confused. After receiving some vague directions from the staff, we found a parking area at the back of the building. However, at the entrance, there was an old, abandoned security booth that looked like it hadn't been used in years. Despite the eerie atmosphere, I didn't think much of it. The hotel didn't seem very large, yet the parking lot was surprisingly full, which reassured me somewhat, as it seemed like there were plenty of other guests staying at the hotel. After parking, we walked through a narrow alleyway to the hotel lobby. The atmosphere changed as soon as we entered. The hotel was decorated in a vintage style with old furniture, giving off an almost eerie vibe. The centerpiece of the lobby was a large, ornate spiral staircase, which seemed to belong to a different era. Everything about the design and layout of the hotel felt strange. Even stranger, there were no staff members at the front desk. I waited for quite some time after ringing the bell, until a staff member finally appeared. I informed the staff that I had a reservation, but when they checked, they found no record of it. I felt annoyed by this, but decided to ask if there were any rooms available anyway. The staff member confirmed that there were rooms, but when I asked for a room with a balcony, like the one I had reserved, they told me that no rooms in the hotel had balconies, despite what I had been told over the phone. By this time, my husband, tired from the drive, suggested we take whatever room was available and rest for the night. Oddly, the same staff member who handled our check-in also carried our bags and guided us to the room, as if there was no one else working at the hotel. We were given room 612. I was surprised when, upon reaching the floor guided by the staff, I realized it was actually on the 4th floor, not the 6th, as I had expected based on the room number. The unsettling feeling grew stronger in my mind. The odd decor, the strange staff behavior, and now this numbering confusion. It all felt wrong. I turned to my husband and suggested we might want to leave and find another hotel, but he, exhausted from the drive, insisted we stay. We entered the room, and the staff member quickly dropped our luggage by the door without stepping inside. He told me to call if I needed anything, then left hurriedly. At first, I thought this was rude, but later I realized why when my husband told me everything. Inside, the room was small and sparsely furnished. There was an old bed, a small wardrobe, and a TV mounted on the wall. The furniture looked dated and worn from years of use. The bathroom, located to the left of the bed, was cramped and appeared just as old as the rest of the room. The atmosphere felt heavy, and the air inside seemed stagnant. Trying not to dwell on negative thoughts, I decided to call a friend who lived nearby. After chatting for a bit, my family and I went out to dinner with my friend and didn't return to the hotel until around 10 p.m. That night, after we put our daughter to bed, my husband went out to buy cigarettes, leaving me alone with our sleeping child. Not long after, my husband returned, and we all went to bed. The next morning, I was startled awake around 6 a.m. by my husband, who was in a rush, urging us to get ready and leave the hotel as soon as possible. He looked utterly exhausted, as if he hadn't slept all night. Confused, I asked why we had to leave so early, especially since most of the tourist attractions we planned to visit wouldn't open until much later. However, he insisted we leave immediately, suggesting we wait on the beach if the places weren't open yet. I could sense that something was seriously wrong. After pressing him for answers, he finally explained what had happened. When he returned to the hotel after buying some cigarettes, he had seen something unsettling near the reception area. In the lobby, there was a lounge sofa, and sitting on it was a woman dressed in traditional clothing. She turned to him and smiled, but something about her appearance seemed off. Her demeanor didn't seem natural. At the time, he thought it was odd for a staff member to be dressed like that so late at night, but he brushed it off. Later that night, when he returned to the room, he struggled to fall asleep. As he lay in bed, he started hearing an unusual noise coming from the vanity in the corner of the room, like someone combing or brushing hair. At first, he thought I had gotten up, but when he glanced over, he saw that our daughter and I were still fast asleep. The noise continued, growing louder. When he turned his head back toward the vanity, he saw a woman sitting there, slowly combing her long hair. He tried to move away, but he was paralyzed with fear as he watched the woman continue to comb her hair. She seemed to notice him and began combing her hair more aggressively. Then, suddenly, with a sharp pull, she yanked her hair so hard that her entire head fell off her body. Her head rolled onto the floor, and her body began crawling toward him, using the bed for support, inching closer. Before he could even process what was happening, she jumped onto the bed. He was frozen, unable to move, as the mattress dipped with each step the headless woman took while she crawled beside him. She lay there right next to him until morning. After hearing his words, I wasn't sure if my husband was experiencing something real or if it was just a figment of his imagination, especially since he had never encountered anything like that before. But before I could react, our 2.5-year-old daughter, who had been quietly listening, chimed in, saying she had seen it too. In shock, I asked her to explain what she saw. She described seeing a woman pulling her hair hard, mimicking the action by grabbing her own hair and pretending to yank it. She then continued, saying my husband had been pressed up against her all night because that woman was lying right behind him. Both my husband and I were horrified and disturbed by her comments. We hurriedly packed our belongings and left the hotel. At the reception desk, as we checked out, we noticed a portrait of a woman in traditional dress hanging on the wall behind the desk. My husband was stunned. It was the same woman he had seen last night. He immediately asked the staff about the portrait, and when he inquired who she was, they explained that she was the former owner who had founded the hotel nearly 30 years ago. I asked the staff if anything unusual had ever happened in the room where we stayed. The staff responded that since the hotel was old, incidents were bound to happen. It was just a matter of chance whether guests experienced anything or not. Although she didn't say it directly, I could tell she was trying to hide something out of fear of damaging the hotel's reputation. After leaving, I shared our experience with a friend we had dinner with, trying to uncover if there had been any incidents at the hotel. My friend revealed that in the very room where we stayed, a woman facing severe financial difficulties ended her life by jumping. Tragically, her head struck the spiral staircase in the center of the hotel, decapitating her instantly, and her severed head became caught, hanging on the railing of the stairs. After piecing together the stories, we concluded we had encountered two ghosts: the ghost of the original hotel owner and the woman who died in that room.